Hey, what's up? This is Austin Womack from KC Speed Sport. We're here at the whiteboard again today for part 3 of my 3-part series on the different energy systems. To recap a little bit, the 3 different energy systems are used to replenish ATP in our body. In other words, to reproduce energy. Okay, without these 3 systems, reproducing energy constantly, and especially while we're working out or competing in our sport, muscle growth and muscle function just simply would not be possible. Okay, so to recap, in part 1 we talked about the phosphagen system, which is the energy system we use to replenish ATP when we're doing short-term, high-intense activities. In part 2 we talked about glycolysis, which is kind of the middle ground there. We can still get to some intense percentages, but the exercise duration is a little bit longer. And then in part 3 today, we're going to talk about the oxidative system. Okay, so let's get right into it. The oxidative system is the system we use when we're doing longer duration, lower intensity exercise. Okay, so the percentages here, we're using 20 to 30% of our max power that we can possibly produce. So the percentages are pretty low. Okay, so when we're doing exercises or whatever in these percentages, our exercise duration is going to be longer, 3 minutes or greater. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump down to the spectrum that I've talked about in each part so far, where we have power here on the y-axis and endurance here on the x-axis. And I explained how different sports kind of lie on different sides of the spectrum. We have some sports that are more power-based, some that are kind of right in the middle, and then some that are more endurance-based. Okay, when we're using the oxidative system, we're going to be kind of in this area over here, more towards the endurance side. Okay, I mean, if you think about it that way, we have the exercises are lasting 3 minutes or greater. So I want you to think again about the sport you play and what system you primarily use. Now there are a lot of sports that use this system at some point, in competition or in training. It's good. But there are not very many sports that use this as their primary energy system. Okay, a couple that come to mind are cross-country runners and kind of long-distance track events, where their events take longer than 3 minutes, generally. So when we're doing this, when this is our primary energy system that we use in our sport, this is obviously the primary energy system we want to train. And when we are training this, we want the work-to-rest ratios to be anywhere from 1 to 1 over to 1 to 3. Okay, and kind of I touched on this a little bit, especially in the first part. Oftentimes, sports that are kind of on this half, this half of the spectrum here, they're more power-based or more just kind of in the middle. They use this system too much in their training. At least from my experience, they use the system too much. Okay, even if it's used a little bit in your sport, yes, you want to use that in your training and use these percentages, use this duration here. But we want to be careful not to do it too much. Okay, if that's not our primary system we're using in our sport, then it should not be our primary system that we're using in our training. Okay. Think again about the duration, the exercise, or the duration in your sport and where it lies on the spectrum. If you're pretty much primarily on this side, on the power side, then you should very rarely, if at all, or if ever, be doing exercises in this duration. So that's basically the oxidative system in a nutshell. Check out part 1 and part 2 if you haven't already. If you have any questions on these 3 different energy systems and how you should incorporate them into your training for your sport, go ahead and just send me a message, send me an email, and I'll get back to you and answer them the best of my abilities.